Welcome. I'm Lee Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. It's been said Paul Simon is among the greatest singer-songwriters of the 20th century, with hits like The Sound of Silence and Bridge Over Troubled Water. But he's not hanging up his guitar just yet. Anthony Mason caught up with him on his ranch in the Texas Hill Country, where they discussed how he was divinely inspired to create his latest album.
His latest solo album, 7 Psalms, was recorded in his cabin studio. The title came to him in a dream.
The dream said, you're working on a piece called 7 Psalms.
He got up and wrote it down on a legal pad.
When something as vivid as that happens, what do you make of it?
Since it came to me in a dream with someone or something telling me to do this, I said, well, look, it's not my idea anyway, so I'll just wait till there's clarification of what I'm supposed to do.
Did you get clarification?
Yeah, it did come as guitar pieces.
Later in the show, Paul Simon on writing hit songs.
When you write a Sounds of Silence or when you write a Graceland, a lot of artists talk about having a fear that they can never write something that good again. But it sounds like you've always trusted your creative instinct.
I don't have any fear about not being able to write again. Now I have a sense of, I'm not surprised it's about time that this stuff is happening. When I was younger, I didn't know, I guess I was uncomfortable with that. That's when you think you have writer's block, when in fact what's going on is it's a part of the process that you can't put your hands on it yet, but it will emerge.
We move now from Paul Simon's Texas ranch to a special farm in Pennsylvania. Martha Teichner pays a visit to a fairy godmother for rescued pigs.
You've heard that term, hog heaven? Ross Mill Farm is it. There are pigs everywhere. Big ones, little ones, kitschy ones. Susan Magidson started out breeding potbelly pigs, but pretty soon shifted to rescuing them when it became clear how many people fall out of love with their pigs.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Music legend Paul Simon has been entertaining audiences for more than 7 decades. In recent years, though, he's struggled with hearing loss in one of his ears, making performing a challenge. But it hasn't stopped him from writing and still recording. Our Anthony Mason caught up with him at his home in Texas.
5 years ago, Paul Simon said he was finished writing songs, but he couldn't stop.
To write a line that you like and just 1 second before it didn't exist, you get like a big dopamine splash in your brain and you love it. And that's why you keep doing it, because it's addictive.
What do you write with?
Mostly I write in my head, but when I'm starting to write it down, it's a yellow legal pad. I have all of them. From Graceland on, I have all of that stuff.
All the yellow legal pads?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lately, Simon's been working on his ranch here in the Lone Star State.
A lot of people would not have imagined that a boy from Queens would end up in Texas Hill Country.
Well, you have to marry a girl from Texas.
He and his wife, the singer Edie Brickell, moved here recently. His latest solo album, 7 Psalms, was recorded in his cabin studio. The title came to him in a dream.
The dream said, you're working on a piece called 7 Psalms.
He got up and wrote it down on a legal pad.
When something as vivid as that happens, what do you make of it?
Since it came to me in a dream with someone or something telling me to do this, I said, well, look, it's not my idea anyway, so I'll just wait till there's clarification of what I'm supposed to do.
Did you get clarification?
Yeah, it did come as guitar pieces.
The words would come later, again in dreams.
I would start to wake up 2 or 3 times a week between 3:30 and 5 in the morning, and words would come. I'd write them down, then start to put it together.
Its creation was captured in the forthcoming documentary, In Restless Dreams.
Did you ask yourself, as this was happening, where is this coming from?
I don't even know if I want to know. It's just, it's there. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
It's been there most of my life. When I wrote The Sound of Silence, and I was 23 years old, that was probably the same kind of phenomenon. But at the time, I just thought, oh, this is kind of my best song at the moment, you know. And the same thing with Bridge Over Troubled Water, where I thought, better than my usual. This is good.
He experienced that again with Graceland, which she performed in a surprise appearance last summer at the Newport Folk Festival. But Simon says he may not be able to play live much longer. He's losing his hearing.
When did it start?
About 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
And what did you notice?
I started to lose a hearing in my left ear, and at this moment it's, I think, 8% hearing in that ear.
Really?
Yeah, it's upsetting. Yeah.
It must be.
I can still hear well enough to play guitar and write.
Yeah.
But I can't hear well enough to play with 5 or 6 musicians. Maybe that's fine. Maybe there's something to be learned from that.
What do you think that would be?
Have to see what it is. Acceptance of, you know, less. That's life, you know. People have a lot worse than this.
I imagine that must be a complicated conversation that you've had to go through in your own head.
It is.
And you probably feel different about it different days.
No, I feel pretty much the same about it, which is like, you know, I'm just not happy about it.
Do you think that might be kind of your last big performance?
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. I really wanted to perform the 7 Psalms.
Yeah.
I haven't given up hope, but I'm prepared to accept that I might not be able to.
7 Psalms is a haunting 33-minute meditation on belief that some have interpreted as the singer wrestling with his own mortality. But Simon insists he isn't.
Of course, I'm 81 years old. Of course I think about it. But I mean, is it pressing on me? No, it's not.
He has taken note of how his songs are aging.
But some of the songs, they're still good.
Does the meaning of songs over time ever change for you?
It does change. The Sound of Silence, the way I performed it at Newport, is a very different song than The Sound of Silence, the way that was a #1 record in 1966.
Yeah.
It's aged into another feeling and another meaning.
Do you think about your legacy at all?
No.
No.
Not important.
But what would you like for your music, I guess?
I feel about the music is like, if it lives, it deserves it. If not, it's discarded and the culture goes to another source of nourishment. You could be disappointed personally, but the culture doesn't care.
But the artist in Paul Simon can't stop creating.
I just started to write recently.
You've started again?
Yeah, I've written 2 songs.
Uh-huh.
As long as I can write and sing, I'll make records, even if it's just for myself.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from our chat with Paul Simon, something you can only see right here on CBS News Streaming. Stay with us.
Around the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, in that period, whatever music is happening in popular music, that's the music that you fall in love with.
As promised, here's more from Anthony Mason and Paul Simon.
I've had dreams where I think that melody is really good. Yeah, I'm going to use that. But when I wake up, I can't remember the melody.
That would drive me nuts.
That's probably not good either. You know, it's like when you're in a dream and you say something that you think is incredibly witty. You know, it's not. You know, some insult that like everyone thinks, what a great put down. You know, oh, why don't you take a shower or something? When you wake up, you realize, no, there's nothing funny about your dream at all.
Everything I've ever written down after a dream, I look at it in the morning, I go,
right,
this was awful.
Exactly. So that's, you know, did I take this information as being unusually important? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I had nothing in my mind that I wanted to write. I didn't have any intention of writing at that point.
Yeah.
And this said, no, begin. So I began.
When you write a Sounds of Silence or when you write a Graceland, a lot of artists talk about having a fear that they can never write something that good again. But it sounds like you've always trusted your creative instinct.
I don't have any fear about not being able to write again. Now I have a sense of, I'm not surprised it's about time that this stuff is happening. When I was younger, I didn't know, I guess I was uncomfortable with that. That's when you think you have writer's block, when in fact what's going on is it's a part of the process that you can't put your hands on it yet, but it will emerge.
Yeah. You said the music started coming, obviously not in dreams. Where does the music come from?
I think where music comes from is from your culture. You grow up in a certain culture, you hear music in a certain way.
Yeah.
My father was a musician, but I wasn't interested in his music, big bands and how he grew up and what he played. I didn't get interested in music till I heard early rock and roll. That's when I became interested. So those sounds are the sounds that I fell in love with, and I still try to incorporate them. I think when people are around the age 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, in that period, whatever music is happening in popular music, that's the music that you fall in love with. So I fell in love with music from the 50s. In New York, it was street corner groups.
Yeah.
I liked that, and I sang in those. The Everly Brothers, when Artie and I first started to sing together, we listened to Everly Brothers records and imitated them. So those sounds are sounds that are part of your initial melodic impulse. And probably earlier than that. If your mother ever sang songs while you're
in the womb?
Maybe even that, yeah.
Do you think you need music on some level?
Yeah. I think we all do.
Yeah.
We always have. We as a species always have, but particularly in the world today, people really need it. It's a comfort and it's an expression of joy and, well, I don't have to tell you what music is. It's ubiquitous. Look at people walking in the streets, they're all listening to music on their little earphones.
What is it for you?
Well, mostly for me, it's my expression. It's how I get out my creative impulse. So that's what music is mostly for me. I do listen to other music, and sometimes I, binge on some other music, but mostly if you ask me what music is about, it's about, well, that's what I do, so that's what it's about to me.
Up next, a paradise for pigs. Welcome back. Mini pigs. They're just as adorable as they sound, and they become pretty popular pets. But what happens when the mini pigs don't stay so mini? Our Martha Teichner learned that these little piggies go to a rescue farm where they can peacefully live out their days.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. Nigel, Livy, and Rain. Because this isn't that tale. There's no blowing down of houses and no big bad wolf. But there is a fairy godmother, as we shall see. But first, Nigel's backstory.
He was the size of a loaf of Wonder Bread. And he was pink and the most delicious little creature you have ever seen.
When they got him in 2016, life coach Nancy Steiner and her husband, writer David Michaelis, were told Nigel was a so-called teacup pig, 40 pounds max full grown.
It really went from love at first sight to a full-blown love affair. We loved him, and the bigger he got, the more we loved him.
And he did get bigger. And bigger. And bigger.
I would give him a treat for getting out of bed, which was Tempur-Pedic. And I would give him a treat for leaving his room, which was air-conditioned. I'd give him a treat for going outside.
Nigel weighed over 250 pounds. He couldn't stand up.
By age 3, so much fat had grown over his eyes, Nigel couldn't see.
Obesity is a big problem.
Enter Susan Magidson, the fairy godmother in this story. Can obesity kill a pig?
Yes. It certainly is proven to shorten their life expectancy by 6 to 10 years.
Magidson came and collected Nigel and drove him 3 hours to Ross Mill Farm, the potbelly pig sanctuary she runs in Pennsylvania, where he's been ever since. Michaelis and Steiner visit him regularly. Magidson put Nigel on a diet and discovered he had an aptitude.
Nigel, where's your babies, huh? Oh, here, look at that. He's a boy, he's not a mama. But, you know, Nigel has been a really good surrogate mother for babies.
You've heard that term, hog heaven? Ross Mill Farm is it. There are pigs everywhere. Big ones, little ones, kitschy ones. Susan Magidson started out breeding potbelly pigs, but pretty soon shifted to rescuing them when it became clear how many people fall out of love with their pigs.
So is there such a thing as a teacup pig?
No, not at all.
I bet you didn't know potbelly pigs are crazy about Cheerios. Or how about this? Males can reproduce at 2 months old, females at 4 months. They keep growing until the age of 5 years. Susan Magidson has advice for anyone considering a pig as a pet. Take her webinar. Find out what you're getting into.
I'm trying to keep people from getting them, but there are pig people who are in love with this species.
Which is where Vivi and Rain come in.
My daughter was really excited. She's like, come on, you have to come upstairs to your room. You have to see what I got you for your birthday.
It was 2014, and respiratory therapist Veronique Peterson was not expecting what her daughter had hidden in her bed.
So she pulled the covers back, and there was a pig in my bed. And I was thinking, why would you get me a pig?
Vivi grew on her in every way. One weekend, her daughter borrowed Vivi and took the pig camping. It disappeared. So she went out and bought one of Vivi's litter mates, thinking her mother wouldn't notice the switch.
So when I got home and I saw this other pig, I was just not happy about it at all. And I cried.
She posted flyers, and sure enough, campers spotted Vivi.
They said we did get Cheerios, because on my flyer, I said she loves Cheerios.
She was caught, and Veronique took her home. The second pig, named Rain, stayed. Now you have to understand that Veronique Peterson also has, count them, a cat, a fish, a tortoise, and 3 dogs. So when her house burned down over a year ago, she had a problem. She sent the pigs off to Ross Mill Farm while she looked for a place to live until her house could be rebuilt. A landlord actually agreed to rent to her.
Spin. Good girl, baby. Here you go.
Sisters Vivi and Rain have their own room. We showed up this last year on what happened to be their 8th birthday. Their treat? The best-looking fruit salad any pig could ever want. Just as in that other 3 Little Pigs story, there's a moral here. Pigs are not for everybody. But for some people and pigs, there are happy endings.
Why is it all worth it?
I love them.
I'm Lee Cowan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right here next time on Here Comes the Sun.